He caught on fire. Central got called out. Took him hours to get to the fire. I'm supposed to be taking my jacket.
Hey, this is the October 23rd work session of the Elizabethtown City Council. Please join Tony Bishop in the invocation, please.
May we pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all your blessings. We thank you for the rain and what it does for our fall season, getting us ready for the weather. And thank you for our employees, all of them, and that work every day and try to keep our community looking good. Services available to all. Ask that you be with all of our first responders, be with our servicemen and women as they protect our country. Ask that you be with this meeting, lead us, guide us, and direct us. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up is Ray Flores. You want to there and hopefully we'll all be able to hear you.
Oh, there's no problem about that.
Okay.
Being ex-military and stuff, I know how to speak. The reason I'm here today, and I'm here with some of my neighbors that came with us just for support, is we live off of Hayden School Road on Radford Court. The new subdivision that's been built. And when we moved in the house, we were on the understanding that everything was good to go. It didn't flood, none of that. The disclosure statement said there was no flooding in the area. Well, when they started doing all the other construction in the upper and behind us, we started getting flooding in the house. We started getting flooding across the street. We started getting flooded on the backside. And it's like the gates are open. Everything is running down and the water system cannot handle the flow. The pipe that's across the street is 10 inches round. Not sufficient for the water to come from that side to go down and come out to the pipe where I'm at. Mine's bigger. Mine's at least about a 20-inch pipe or whatever size that is for the city to use. When the Phillips brothers built the ditch from that culvert to the backside as a silt deposit, I guess you can call it, it is filled up so much that it's level. Any water that's coming through there is rumbling down, taking all the rocks with it. It comes up and it's starting to come into my yard up at the top. Plus, anything that comes over from the other side is coming from the opposite direction and it's filling up. Between the two houses where my neighbors live, the topsoil that's up on there where they've been building is washing down, and they put the barriers, but still all that dirt and silt has come over the street, over to where the little gutter is, where it's supposed to go down in, but it doesn't because it's coming in such a force that it's hopping over and it's eroding that empty lot that is between us in that section. And the thing that's upsetting is that You know, we're not pointing fingers. We just want something fixed because somebody signed off on the development of that area. And when I got sewer pipes, when I got a manhole from here to there in my backyard, and they tell me that it's safe, and everybody else is feeding into the same place, I don't think that's right. And then instead, well, when the subdivision gets built up on the top of the hill, then everything is going to be diverted to that side. But we're still continuing to get water in the yards. I can't even walk out my backyard. It's squishy like a sponge at times. It takes a long time for it to dry out. Can't grow any grass in that area, even though the city has come out and tried to fix it 3 times. Can't put seed on it because if the water trickles down from the top part of that unit, it's getting bigger and bigger and it's running faster. And by the time it gets to mine, it's wide. It's about 3 feet wide, and it's going down into that area. So can't put grass in there. And the city said that they would take care of that problem, which is okay, that they would resod it whenever this dries out again. But right now, I haven't been in my basement since I've been home because I came from school, came straight here. And I don't know if I have any flooding in there or not right now. The only positive thing is I don't have carpet downstairs. But still, water coming in, seeping in, it's not good. You know, I lived in Radcliffe for 27 years in the same house when I got back here from Germany in 1992. That was an older house. It was built back in the 80s and probably maybe a little bit before that. I've never experienced any problems like that in that subdivision. And my house was at the bottom of the hill and it trickled down. And I had a swimming pool and never flooded because the drainage system was set up properly and whoever did the inspections took care of it. You know, you said you'll only have one building inspector for the whole city that comes out and checks periodically the new houses coming up. I don't think that's sufficient, to tell you the truth. It's really not sufficient because, you know, he'll come out and look at it one time, and then by the time he comes back, they've already finished a whole lot of stuff that he hasn't been able to check. It's just like when the city came to my house on Friday. We met out there in the yard, and they said, the drainage around your house, for some reason, is backing up. So when they gave me suggestions of what to do to check where my downspouts came out, and we ran water through it to see where it come out, one of them, you couldn't even tell where it came out at. Couldn't find it where the water's coming out at. So don't know where it's going, if it's going down underneath the house or where. So I had a contractor come out and look at it. And what he did is he took those downspouts out and put elbows on it and put the flashing pan to run it away from the building. When he pulled one of them out, I looked, and the drainage that's along the building, that's supposed to drain everything away from the building when they're built, was tied into the downspout coming from the top for the water to run down from the roof. So somebody took shortcuts somewhere.
Wouldn't that have been the builder?
That would have been the builder, yes. But we've been in the house over a year now, and we didn't experience any of the flooding until later on, until Phillips Brothers and them started doing all that other construction in their neighborhood. So it's a trickling effect because it affects 3 families. And my neighbor has 2 sump pumps in his basement and it still floods. I don't have a sump pump, and I'm not going to put one in because I don't think I need to. Something has to be fixed. And that's where we're at standstill. I mean, you know, this is supposed to be my last home. I'm 60 years old. You know, I retired from the military. I'm teaching school now. And when I retire, I want to be able to have a home that I can come to and not worry about if I go on vacation that I'm going to come back and my basement's going to be flooded. Which has happened when we've been over next door for celebration. I come home and half my basement's full of water. And here I am with the, you know, wet mop and stuff, trying to get it out.
Before you mentioned something about something that was filled up with silt on it. Is that a basin?
That's the basin, yes.
Is that behind your house?
Behind the house. Because the culvert.
What's your address?
120 Radford Court. See, that basin's right there in the corner. So everything that's coming down from the hill is running into that ditch. Well, that what used to be a ditch. It's running and it's getting full. and it's filling up with silt. Now, we were told that Phillips Brothers was not going to do anything with that to fix it until he finishes all the building up on top of the hill. That could be 3 or 4 years from now. And what's going to happen? It's going to continue to flood until
When did
something.
it fill up with silt? Just recently?
It's been going on since the last heavy rains we've had. Anytime it rains, everything runs from the top down to the bottom.
Did you purchase your house as a brand new construction or was it previously?
Brand new construction.
And when you turn on Radford,
When you
going
turn
left
right,
or the right?
you just go to the right and it comes to a cul-de-sac.
Yes, and which house is yours?
120 Radford Court, right
If
there.
you were to count the houses, do you know, I'm looking at a little.
On the,
map.
from the corner,
Yes, sir.
about six house down, because there's my house, then there's an empty lot that nobody's been able to
That's there.
build anything on it.
I got you.
Yeah, and then,
Okay.
my friend's house sits right directly in front. And then the lady over here, the German lady, hers is right across the street from us.
In your opinion, again, going back to that basin or that you said, if that was not full of silt, would that, do you think?
I think that would help if they dug it out, because it's eroding big time. And the silt that's covering up where it used to be rocks, when I first moved in there, you can walk down in it. Now, people can ride their bicycles across it.
Robert, is there a ditch behind Mr. Flores' house?
There is, along the side of Mr. Flores' house and along the back side also. There's actually 2 ditches there.
Yeah, the second ditch is behind the gentleman's house, which he can look out his backyard, and it's about 3 feet wide. And when it rains, and they've put rocks at the top because there's a manhole up there that's exposed. They put rocks there to try to hold some of the water, but it's not helping. It washes it all down with such force. And he's picking up rocks out of his yard.
Mr. Flores, you're at the bottom of that grade of that neighborhood, aren't you? Hill skirts up top. You're the
Yes, sir.
very bottom.
Yes, sir. Very bottom. So like I say, things roll downhill. What they should have done to that subdivision, and this is my own opinion, because I've seen combat engineers in the service do it when we were in Iraq and everywhere else. When they build things, they make sure they do it right. And they don't have degrees. Those are soldiers. You know, and I understand why these educated people that are supposed to be out there surveying and know how the land's going to roll, why didn't they put a pipe underneath the ground where the water starts at the top and can trickle down with gravel? And then it comes out right past my yard into that ditch. For some reason, something was changed in that plan when they started building the houses, because we've talked to the neighbors that have lived there before we moved in. And they said, this subdivision was not built right. So I don't know about the other people that live on the same street. They've never complained. I know the lady next to me has a sump pump in her basement. You know, and every now and then I go out there and I can see water coming out of it, because I go out and check as soon as it starts raining. I'm gonna see how much water is coming through there, because I got to be ready. I keep my wet vac down in the basement now.
Has that basin ever been cleaned out?
No, it has never been cleaned out since we lived there. And of course, the mud is starting to clog up into the pipes that run underneath the street. And you can see it.
Well, this is just my opinion. Obviously, you tried to get some answers on this previously, and you haven't been satisfied with those.
No, sir,
And
I'm
that's
not
why you're here
satisfied.
tonight.
Yes.
And it's impossible for us to give you any kind of an educated answer, because it's first we've heard of it, and all I can see now is a house I assume is yours, and I can't tell anything about
Right.
what's going on. So I think while we're all here, we should ask Robert or somebody to address his concerns and at least get us started.
Well, before he
in the right
answers his
direction.
concerns, we've made phone calls when it's been raining to try to get somebody to come out and look at it. It doesn't happen. You know, if you want to see what's going on, come out when it's downpouring. Come out there, put your boots on, and look exactly what's going on in that neighborhood, how's that water's running. Because Phillips Brothers had a street sweeper come take all the mud out of that cul-de-sac not too long ago. And of course, yesterday or Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, after we had our little meeting, Phillips Brothers was out there trying to fix the mess behind her house. As he went back there with that big bulldozer, the ditch digger, soon as he pulled up, he was pulling up mud and it was running right back down.
I guess all I'm trying to sort out, just to get started on this is it a Phillips Brothers issue? Is it the person that built your home issue? Is it
I don't think
city
it's I don't think it's the
engineering
person
issue?
that built the house because nothing else is wrong with it.
Well, I mean, you were
Did you
talking
not say it was
earlier.
connected wrong?
Yes, that was, but I think I can take care of that part myself. Because I noticed where that pipe's coming up, but I'm gonna check it when I go home, see how that water's running, and I'm gonna keep an eye on it, because we're supposed to get some more rain.
Do you think if that basin were properly cleaned out and kept cleaned out and everything, that would eliminate the problems y'all are talking about?
It would keep the water from backing up and coming up into my yard. Because before, when that downspout was connected together with the one coming along the edge of my property to keep all the water running down, when that ditch filled up, it was putting pressure, no water was going out, it was pushing it back in towards the house.
She was saying, no, it would not. Is that what you said?
Maybe on her side, it would not.
I had water sitting the whole year in the ditch. But now-
That just stays there.
It stays there. It's been staying there until the other day when they started trying to fix it. And then finally, they pushed that water out and it went across the street.
I done that since December.
I have lots of pictures of people that I can give to know. People want me up there.
That's what my bank got.
So, and I know you can't give me an answer right now. I know you guys can have to do the research. But I think it would be good if some of you would come out there and look. I think it would be to your benefit, to the city's benefit, to fix these problems so it doesn't get to this point. Because I want to stay there. Because right now, if I put my house in the market, I can't sell it because I have.
Do you think your house got water in it today or something?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't been home. So,
Have you ever had water in your house?
no.
I did.
I have that.
You have?
She has, yeah.
You have not,
No, not until here recently.
but you have recently.
Yes, twice. Twice.
The water was so much that the rain side and ditch over my pipe, right to the street, and then across.
Do any of you guys have sump pumps in your basements?
I don't have to make.
He does.
I have some pump, and for sure the water is going through my property, it's just like a river. And touching, almost 2 feet of the house, going inside the basement. It was told that this may be the problem that, your basement is leaking, but that is not the problem, because the water level was so high, it can go.
Has that always been the case until is that even,
When I had the flood, I was there first, when I had the flood in my house, that house where he lives in now had no water.
And-
That water stopped right by the back door, is the bedroom window, stopped right there. That side where he lives had not one drop of water. That's
so what's caused the problem since then?
I'm the one who got the problem behind the house, and then when Phillips water came, both got the problem and he got the problem. So-
Since they started building on the hill.
Okay,
Since they started building on the hill, then it's gotten worse on his end too, also.
Every time they are coming and cutting all the swale, then swale and making deeper and deeper again and again, the problem is that.
What is your all's addresses?
I live in 121, he lives in 125.
So you're right at the cul-de-sac there, Bradford Court.
Right,
there.
we're all
I
there
know where
together.
that is. Yeah, I've been
Yes.
there, yeah.
Mhm.
That's my backyard.
So,
Right up in the house.
Where do you live?
I'm
Married to her? Oh, okay.
But I've been there and it goes way over the easement. You get a storm like you had like today, it goes down maybe 3 feet off or closer, sometimes up to his house. He has a less than 1-year-old baby. So imagine if that baby goes outside and there's rain like that, so much deeper. And everybody likes it. He's got the nice, everybody that wants to leave whatever, look at his video. He's got it all. Especially take a light over around.
Well, as Terry said, we can go out there and we'll go out there and take a look at it, but Robert, can you give us any insight as to what?
That problem, but it's late, not
Yeah.
today.
Not, yeah,
They-
right.
They will give you more information when Mr. Flores is ready.
Yeah, and I think
Are you
Robert
ready
wants to.
now? And I was gonna have Robert come up and give them more
oh, that's fine.
information.
That's, I'm finished.
Okay.
I'm finished.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Uh-huh.
Robert, you wanna,
Thank you, Mr. Flores.
You're
let
welcome.
the council know what you and Desiree have.
Hey, Mr. Flores, get a sump pump, man. You gotta have one.
Hey,
I mean, I hope I never need mine, but I've got a sump pump.
I have 4 kids that live here in Elizabethtown. They're not kids, they're in their 50s-ish. Every one of them have a sump pump in their basement. And that's the way it is.
I live back in 31 years, yeah, in the basement, you never had a pump in there. I never had water in my house for 31 years.
I wish all the builders would put a sump pump in, you know.
They just go together like that. Didn't know.
I think there's a number of things that are happening here, and we spent quite a bit of time out there the other day, and at their invitation, we appreciated that and enjoyed the time trying to diagnose. And building department also came out, looked at the home construction somewhat. We looked at the surface improvements and what needed to be done, what looked like was lacking, and tried to do some analysis and try to understand their problem as they outlined it. Again, starting at, I don't know where to start except I guess at the beginning, but there are ditches on 2 sides of Mr. Flores' property. There is a main ditch that serves the detention basin to the rear of that property. It's not his lot, but the adjacent lot. That basin has acted as a silt basin. While the subdivision has been underway, it does need some maintenance. I would recommend some maintenance. In fact, we have recommended to the developer that those things be maintained.
Not to interrupt you, but who owns that basin right now?
The basin is owned by the development company. That would be Lynn Turner and Phillips Brothers. It's Larry Phillips, construction guy that we're talking with.
So they're responsible for keeping the basin?
Yes, sir. Because it's in that interim mode. It not only served as silt basin for the current development where Mr. Flores lives, but also this new section that's coming on. So there is that need right now from the adjacent to his, and it's within a few feet of his walkout basement door. But there is some need for maintenance of that, and I think it would improve things to get that silt out of there. And I committed that the other day when we met out there on the site, and also told the developer that the basin needs to be checked and see the silt levels in it, that it may be time to go ahead and try to make the transition with this basin from it being a temporary silt basin to a bona fide detention basin. Since a big portion of the development is already built, there should be clean water going down there to it with the improvements that they're trying to do with silt control upstream. You know, it's time that you could make that basin
So
a
that is
detention basin.
the ultimate plan,
Yeah.
is to change it from what you call a silt basin to
Yeah.
a regular.
Right. And the
On
silt,
that process, I mean, is that, do we have in place a policy that says, okay, X amount of months into this, we're gonna go out and see, because at that point in time, they should make this conversion? Or do we have to wait till somebody complains and then we go out?
Well, the policy-
Well, we should have asked.
yeah, the EPSC permit works like this. You know, you inspect your own facilities, and when it gets to be at a third full or a half full, you know,
all, meaning us or them?
I'm talking about the developer.
Okay, so developers.
The developer should have a checklist of his inspection times and look at these things and see when they do need maintenance. Sometimes it comes like this thing back to us when it hasn't been done in a timely manner. So
But we don't have anything to check them currently
We
in
do.
place.
we look at their EPSC and, you know, we look at these things, but if it's not glaring, you know, it's a silt basin temporarily, so it looks like a temporary silt basin, you know, anytime you look at it. But at some point in time, you know, once the water's out of it, you can tell that there's a fairly good silt load there. The water was still standing there, but you could tell that it needs some attention. So don't have any problem in getting the developer to do that. And that may help in regard to the side yard loading at Mr. Flores' house. There's also a small swale that is along the rear of the yard that has had some attention, and we've actually done some work there to try to help stabilize the ditch in the past. It still needs some attention, even though we've had heavy seeding and sodding and we've had good grass growth. It looks like there's probably some other factor that's there. And I don't know if you get a lot of wear, Mr. Flores, to that part of your yard, or if you get yeah, it's just been seeding, but it's had a decent grass stand at one time. Part of the original plan even showed a little riprap in that area, but I would hate to visit that upon Mr. Flores' lot. That probably would not be pretty ugly. So
you know, at this point in time, trying to keep it in grass would be best. But on the original development plan, there's really a dollop of riprap that's right there at that transition. Because when I reviewed the plan, you could tell there was some additional slope going on right there that needed, you know, you had some advanced scour activity that could happen. So instead of making you deal with, you know, a rock area in your yard, you know, well, my guys, I told them to try to net it and seed it heavy and get it where it was stable. I directed them as soon as the weather permits to go back in and reseed that. Probably at this point in time, try to sod it since this is frost season and it's hard to get grass to grow right now. But again, chop pretty much all the dirt out of the sod and try to get the grass to bind there on that current dirt.
Do you think
That's
the
the goal.
developer will be able to go in and do his work to the basin before winter?
I think so. Larry Rice is committed this morning to do that, and we'll make sure and hound him to do it. There's also the other problem that we've got a couple more items that we probably hit on our list. But yes, I feel certain, Councilman, that we can get him back out there to do
They're
that.
still doing construction out there, don't they have equipment out there?
Yeah, and there's still some bond, not a lot of bonding. There's about $10,000 worth of bonding still outstanding in this section of the subdivision. Of course, the silt load has to do with the new section of the subdivision. So there's still that money that's still there. So the 10,000, I think, is committed to sidewalks, and we can make him do this ditch improvement as a part of the new section. So because that's where the source of the silt is right now currently.
So you'd be notifying him when of this? I mean,
I notified him as of this morning. He was in my office and we promised Flores and all the people that we met with last week that we'd be very responsive to the problem. And I hope we've achieved that. But, you know, again, we're waiting for weather with my staff and my crew for that bit of reseeding. And the developer will get back out there. We'll hound him till he does. And he understands the urgency with this. There is another issue that, and what's your 125 at the backside of 125 through the development process, there is a ditch that is really not in place that should be in place. And either, I don't know whether it was filled in through the construction process or overlooked in the public improvement process. We haven't signed off on it, but that ditch needs to be put back and be restored. And that is the source of the issue there. It's understandable that the gentleman has water going into his basement because there's no place for the water to flow back there. It should be a 2 foot deep, 4 to 1 sides. It should be a very generous cross section ditch right there in that location. And it is either filled in through the construction process on his home or through the building process by the developer or wasn't ever built. Yes, I did.
Okay.
At same meeting this morning, we talked about that ditch. And I told him, yeah, same construction guy working on the development. Yes.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
like too from this area that there's silt and erosion on both sides of 121 as well.
Sure.
Between 117, 121, and on the other side of 121, pretty closer. So
Right.
I can't remember the grade on that. I can't remember if it's flowing to the road or flowing.
It's a substantial grade difference from where your pin is to the backyard that's right there in front where the pipes are. It's a substantial grade difference there.
It looks like there's puddles of water, little ponds back there.
Yeah, those are little silt basins that they're trying to utilize to keep that water kind of at bay and keep it from coursing down the hill. It's functional and working some of the time, but they've got it pretty heavily silt fenced right now, and it looks, it looks pretty ugly, but it's contained, and it's just they're building right now and building houses, and the houses are probably 2 or 3 houses up from where this location is. So it won't take many more months for the builders to, turn this into a grassed yard and it'll be more
Which
stable.
will help some.
Yeah, it will.
Well, how much
Council.
longer is this the responsible developer until it's turned over to the city?
It would be until we release his bonds. Yeah, so we have full leverage right now to require these improvements, and particularly the silt features, because that dominoes into the current current unit that's fully under development. So all that bond's in place. In this section where Mr. Flores lives, there's, like I said, there's a remnant of bond there still available, but the silt thing is the new section and tied into that. So.
Robert, do you think
Yes, sir.
that you could get, tomorrow you could get a time frame from Phillips Brothers
Okay.
on these issues, and then you would have kind of a time frame maybe for the sod on the backside there of 120, and then we can communicate
Right.
also about this.
I can communicate. My guys are on the wary. They're waiting for the weather to break to do this work. So it will be immediate, Mr. Flores. As soon as they see a window of opportunity to do the sodding.
Well, but from what I understand, Robert was out there all last week and has put this in motion. So it was
Right.
actually in motion before he came here, but, you know, it's always good to see citizens. Yeah. Yeah.
Our neighbors, we're about the subdivision.
Right.
Because it's a nice subdivision.
Right. And you're gonna see some proactive things here because we've got a copy of this to read here. Where we are looking at some more of these issues where we make sure that those grades get in correctly to start with, so you don't get to this problem.
Until my husband called last week, Desiree and other people, there's people around, came out and they have that twice. But so you understand, we have had to go through no telling what. Ever since we've been there a year and a half, and we're still on this, it's the fourth time. And, you know, we just made it known that we had come, my husband had put himself on the agenda. Then they called up his work, and wanted to schedule an appointment, and, oh, if there's anything else they could do for it, then they wanted to come to me. So, that's what my husband said, you know, we feel like the people with areas of expertise here that we don't have, as educators, or whatever, on Facebook, that should counteract all the stuff that's going on. I know there's another subdivision, the same thing happened to. And it just seems like that, yeah, it's so much respect before it all comes to this, you know? And I don't know any of the businesses out here before, Desiree has, they know, and we understand what Mr. told us about the house, about problems with under the ground, well, it was found out down here, and nobody noticed it either. We had our own inspector, he didn't notice it. So whatever he advised us to do, we got done Saturday. So we've done, if we'd known that, or somebody get out earlier, we might have could have done something sooner. So I think part of this is just being aware. And we, you know, we live in E-town, and we want to be proud of them. But we have to have trust, and there's really not a trust factor. Mr. Bush said he wants to respect that, and I respect that. But same thing keeps happening over and over in different parts of town. It's kind of hard to be trusted. So that's all I got to say.
When you say you've gone through a lot for a long time, is that, define that for me. Have you called City Hall and not gotten a response?
Well, they come out and they try some things, but it doesn't work. And then we call every time it's flooded, and we have tried. But you know, when a plan made or anything until this week, that we know of.
You've been out there.
Yeah,
Yes.
our crew has been out there.
Such huge water is coming from there, you know, large. It's taking almost not all the time. It's not like it's mixed like a river type or whatever. So I requested to the partner, yes, I never came to see you.
Yeah.
You can put some underground pipe, you know, whatever size or whatever you want to that. Then I can be able to use my backyard, and since I have accumulated maybe 1 year old, pretty much it will half, you know, very sensitive. I'm born in the University of Green. So that time so much you will see every week he has some problem. And I requested him 2-3 times he came. He always, you know, putting some soil transfer, taking out from there, making deep again and again. But the problem is just like, you know, the sanity. I have checked this since, you know, I can USA very newly. I don't have any idea what, you know, what the locality we have. I checked some of the property, some underground pipe we have set up, and very nice, every floor was there. I have requested if you can do that, that will be helpful a lot, because I'm not here for just 1 day or 1 month or 1 year. I'm here for whole life. So please make our, everything better here. And my area is very, sensitive and small. Something will happen in the big area, almost 2.5, big, we have got some of the, so then who will take care? No money is going to compensate me. So, 2 times they came, they did, and the, problem is the same as it. I have, video, you can see that. It look like same river. So if they can put some underground pipe, that will help us,
But I mean, none of the plans are calling for underground pipe.
No, no, and the fact that complicating the issue, I think, is he's constructed now and he's built now. And, the ditch either isn't there, wasn't to the right width there.
What you're saying about the ditch and cleaning out the basin will correct his problem as well.
Cleaning out the ditch, shaping the proper ditch along his rear property line will help his situation. It'll keep water from.
The developer's responsibility to do that as well.
It is indeed. And what's currently available or proposed right now is a V-type ditch that's, over 14 feet wide at the top. It's a 2 foot deep on 4 to 1 side slopes.
Are they gonna line that with rock or is it just?
No, it's a grass ditch, the best I can remember, Councilman, but it may need to be sod or it may need to be, something a little more substantial, but there's really about 20 CFS that's coming down through there in the final shakeout. It's going to be reasonable, but what you're seeing is really the teething pains of that subdivision, that new section coming on board and then funneling down through the old section. And I think they were less than careful in the way that they routed that water on the interim. Some of the flooding history that you're hearing about, I think, was probably an intermediate step when they first started cutting in the street upstream of them. So there's some teething pains going on in the fact that this is adjacent to a new section of the subdivision. And that's there, and that's part and parcel, as they say in Washington. That's baked into it right at this point in time. Yeah.
Just the description that you said of the proposed ditch, the way the ditch behind him is supposed to be,
Right.
tells you that they were under the presumption there's going to be a lot of water run through.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the whole reason we're doing Plan Certain, because
Right.
when these
Yeah.
subdivisions are approved, they're approved with ditches.
Right.
And then the builders or the developers go out there and they fill in the ditch and build a house.
But the main thing for these guys is the developer has to step up his
Right.
timetable
And
for
go
doing
back
what he's
and
already
do
responsible
back
for doing.
what was approved
Okay.
before.
June till today. 2-3 times they came, they just do all the, tanks for, making deeper again and again. And some of the place, people are 2 feet and a half feet almost. This much is not really, you can put anytime outside. Who's going to take care of that?
Well,
I
regardless
think
of what's
that's-
happened in the past, it sounds like at least now with this dialogue and what's been done last week that, we've got the developers involved, we're involved. So hopefully that will.
All they did was a whole bunch of wax in the down in the water, and when the water flows for the high, them wax got to go on in the ditch and close up, and then all the water wants to go crazy.
Right.
That's what it does.
I feel right now with some good weather, a matter of a few weeks is going to make altogether different look at what you all are dealing with right now. Establishing that ditch, cleaning out that silt laden detention basin, and also letting us do our seeding in your rear yard. It's going to change the whole look of the thing. And hopefully, since your downspouts are now off that drain, I'm very hopeful that surcharge that's going back in your basement is not going to happen in the future. I'm hoping so, because
But we're giving it our best shot.
Yep, we're doing our best, and I appreciate your all's patience and.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
You're all welcome to stay for the rest if you want. Michael Page.
Bids were received last week for the Pure Orchard Road Improvements Project. The lowest bid came from Phillips Brothers at $997,200.
It's only, they get some basics.
There's no basins on this project,
So
so.
I'm saying they need to fix some other things.
Oh, yeah,
They
some
need to
other-
fix
yeah,
some
yeah,
other
exactly.
things.
That,
What is this, okay, this is the project that you're saying is scheduled to be done by next August?
yes, that final completion date is August 1st.
Robert, some council members have requested that Phillips Brothers not be awarded this bid until they get the basin fixed at Ashton Park.
It's your all's call. I don't think that. Probably fix it.
No,
But I'm sorry.
I would disagree. When you got a contractor that has a situation, I don't feel that it's in the best interest of the city to continue to award contracts until we get some problems fixed.
Then all of the discussion occurred.
Well, just starting it, so.
The other bid that was provided was from Louisville Paving for $1,165,000. Both of those proposals were under the was budgeted for the project. They're well under. So we'll bring this to you all next week, present to you for your approval, and we'll talk with
Week after next.
a week after next. Is that when that is? Okay.
Any questions of Michael? Thank you, Michael. Mark Malone?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. This is money coming in. So if you know, we've had a long,
Like sales.
yes, about as quick. This has probably been like a 5-year project that we've been working on for the replacing of the weather sirens. They were bought in '94 and we have been replacing them. The ones that qualified for Homeland Security grants, we now have been awarded the last one of those. And then in between Homeland Security grants, the city itself has bought 3 or 4 of those sirens. So we now have, with this install, this will be the 12th siren in the system. Pretty much 100% of the homeowner areas of the town are covered now. Out by like South Ring Road, that area newly developed. We don't have anything out in that area right now, but there's really not anything out there that needs that weather warning. So just remind the public that this is an outdoor warning system. It's not really designed for you to be able to hear it inside the house, even though we have coverage now, and the type of siren that we bought has better penetration. So the likelihood of you hearing them inside is pretty good, but it's not designed to wake you up at night or anything like that. This is basically to alert you that there is some sort of weather event in the area, that when you're outside working or outside recreating or whatever, and to go to a radio or something like that and get further information. So we have the ability to set them off. Hardin County Dispatch has the ability to set them off. So we have some redundancy there, and we're finishing up that project. This will be the last one of the group.
Mark, Hardin County has the ability to set ours off?
Yes.
They've moved that button. Console, so it's not accidental.
Yes. The middle of the night, that button. Yeah. At Hardin County. Yes. I think they've moved that button. It did.
Cover maintenance in the future as well.
That does not. We are responsible for that. We have a contract with Radio Communication Service out of Louisville. And they come down to do preventative maintenance on all the sirens once a year. And, we had an issue where Hardin County had switched their radio system to a microwave-based system instead of a landline-based system. And we were having issues with the sirens, all the sirens being activated. RCS came down and they worked a couple of weeks to make sure that the timing was correct and to make sure that all the sirens would go off. And then our radio console will make sure that all the sirens go off. So
And Mark, how many do we have in the city?
we have 12. And we had 11 originally. We added one in the Budco Lane area because of the development out on the south end of town. So now we have them, I think, spread out fairly well across most of the community.
Hey, Mark, it's on a different subject, but if you've got time, and I I thought about this some time back, and have you thought much about what you think you're gonna do about plans for raising money for the crusade, since we're not gonna have the roadblocks anymore?
Yeah, we've been actually working on it for some time. We've got a couple of different ideas. The first one we're going to try first, we're going to approach a lot of the factories and see about direct withdrawal to see if they would want to do something in the United Way sort of model. And then also, if they don't want to go that route, or if as a supplement to that, we've basically developed, stealing a little bit from the Red Kettle, we've got some retired boots that we have figured out a way to put basically a PVC column inside of it so that it can't be stolen, but it'll have a place to deposit money. So we're going to contact hopefully some of the factories in the area would allow us to put them in the break room. We've contacted some of the places downtown. We'd like to move them around so it doesn't become old hat for people to be able to actually deposit. We have the link to the Crusade for Children's website that allows you to either put your check routing number in there or you make a credit card purchase. That will link to our Facebook page. So if somebody wants to go to our Facebook page, they can click on the link. It'll take them right to that. It credits it to our fire department, and people can actually get a receipt that way. So if they want to make a substantial donation, it's tax deductible that way. We still do someone calls the fire station, we'll still come to your house to pick it up.
I was thinking more along the lines too, and Jeff's here, but do we have the capability to do a payroll with?
We've already done that.
So do we have that option with Crusade for Children?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's on there now?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did that 2 years ago, I think.
I mean, I'm good.
Mark will get with you.
I'll get with you.
I mean, is that-
And he brings up a good point. That is something, maybe every other week you might want to stand up there and make announcements.
Well, the November safety meeting, we'll bring it up again in the November safety meeting. Barb and I have already been talking about it, and we'll have the sign-up forms available for employees. And last year was about $5,000 the city contributed. So, yeah, so it was a pretty good deal.
And also, the fact that anybody that wants to contribute can just write a check and drop it off. Or
Oh,
like you
absolutely.
said, call you.
Mhm.
Y'all come right to the house. And
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need us to give you a receipt or anything like that, the Crusade for Children actually doesn't want us to handle that check. They want us to send it directly to them. And then that way, if someone loses that receipt or something like that and calls, they have the check record and they can send them a receipt. So Crusade would prefer checks go straight to them. Coins and dollars, things like that, we have for years since I've been here, had an agreement with, it was First Citizens and now it's United Bank. And they have an employee come in, help us out on the weekends and count the money and do their change counter and bill counter. And that's what we turn in.
Go get the form and sign Chip up.
All right. Very good.
Get him before he goes to play golf.
I think it would be, I think it would just be terrific if we could really find a way to get close to or equal or better what we've collected in the past, the old fashioned way with the roadblocks. I just think it would be really good if we could use technology and do some different things to where we could, not decrease the contribution from this area, but to increase.
Well, we've got more than E-Town involved too. Central Hardin, Valley Creek,
Correct, yeah. And
they're going to come up with.
That's right.
And that is our goal. Our goal was for this to be a seamless transition. Technology changes, times change. It just wasn't safe anymore to be in the road, not only just for our employees, but also because of the traffic incidents that we were causing further upstream down at the Ring Road 31W intersection. People were getting stuck in that intersection because we were collecting, and then the light changes. Well, nobody can move. And then you get into that light, you get the light cycles off. So it was time for a change. Now, the question is, the community, if they rally around us and call in and make donations that way and make a change on their end, or, when they're at, we're going to try to get with Bourbon Barrel Tavern and Impellizaries. They're a Louisville company. I think they would, we're hoping that they will invite that boot system in. If you're in those places, you see the boot, put some money into it, and, we'll continue to march forward.
In the city of Elizabethtown, your fire department normally collected approximately $20,000.
Yeah, it was usually somewhere between 15 and 20. Fort Knox Federal Credit Union has a payroll deduction system, and they do 3 years. 1 year Elizabethtown gets it, 1 year Radcliffe gets it, 1 year Vine Grove gets it. So that's the 15 when we don't get it, and it's 20 when we do get it.
That is your goal, is 20 for Elizabeth.
Our goal is 20, yes.
We're seeing some increases at church when you start doing the giving with your debit card or online. Tends to give a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think too, where you were dropping just loose change in, and there really wasn't any tax benefit to that. If people would embrace the credit card or check payment through Crusade for Children, then that automatically gives you a receipt. It's seamless, and you can take it off on your taxes. So it's a big benefit on that side. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, trick or treat Tuesday night from 5 to 8.
Be there, be square.
That's
We
usually
have
the
a lot of
biggest
trunk or
decision.
treats going on.
We do, Friday is our big trunk or treat. Spending about 5,000.
That's a
Over 100,000.
One thing most of us have learned before,
Wow.
many years ago, you do not change the date of trick or treat in any town.
You talking about Amy?
Hey, I'm talking about everybody.
Currently.
That was
Don't-
my first mistake.
That's right. Boy, you talking about getting eaten up. Flooding is nothing.
Yeah, in the Haunted Museum again this Friday, from 7 to 9. They're gonna have some barbecue in the back as well. Very good. I had it over at the Glendale Crossing Festival. So,
We're just gonna have Jesus. Sorry.
We're gonna have beer and bingo at St. James.
Amen. Everybody, that it? Okay, hey, will you come here for a minute?
bring Jesus.
You expound just a little bit more on that, the job that Phyllis done over there.